Hello, welcome back to Ever17 Out of Infinity. Okay, I went through the story one time and now I'm back at the beginning. There's a little settings menu here, a lot of things, so there's one thing I'll see. These are screensavers. And right here, clear list, right? Yeah. Endings cleared, scenes completed, past completed, percentage complete, number of screensavers. Endings cleared. Okay. Paths completed. 32 out of 225. There are 225 paths in this visual novel. It is very, very big. Cleared ending list. And then number 7, U version bad end is the end that I got. Yeah. And that's that. So there's a lot in this visual novel. Okay, we'll start a new game now. Make some different choices and see what I can get. So, if I can skip just the unread text and not the read text, skip until the next plot selection. Ooh. Skip just the unread text instead of the read text. Yeah. No. Skip the read text, not the unread text. Neat. I do want to see the unread text. That's right. So that's a good option there. Skip until the next plot selection. That's interesting. So it got me up to here, and now I can't skip. Yeah. It didn't let me skip those last parts there. So this is the first choice that I want to do differently right here. This time, I will listen to the staffer's explanation. Patting the little dog's head, he turned back to listen to the explanation.
それを上回るようになっているのです。話の始めでもお伝えしましたように、これから皆さんがお入りになる館内はどこもかしこも6気圧の混合ガスで満たされています。ですから今このようにして皆さんの体を6気圧の大気に慣らしているというわけです。もちろんこの混合ガスは酸素、窒素、ヘリウムで構成されておりますので、人体には全く無害です。どうして中の気圧を高めているのかと申しますと、それはレミューの安全性を確保するために必要不可欠だからです。皆さんはこれから海の中へと潜っていくわけですが、ここでちょっぴり不安に思われている方も中にはいらっしゃるのではないでしょうか。海水が漏れて中に入ってきたらどうするんだとか、水圧に押しつぶされて沈没してしまうんじゃないかとか。しかしどうかご安心ください。そのような心配は一切ご無用です。内部の気圧を高めているので、このレミューが水圧によって押しつぶされることは絶対にありえないのです。ところでこの加圧室に入る前に皆さんにイヤホンのようなものをお配りしましたよね。はい、そうです。今皆さんが耳に装着されているそのイヤホンです。 これはただのイヤホンではなく音声変換器といいます。レミューの中にはヘリウムガスが充満しているので、この変換器を耳につけていないとアヒルのような声に聞こえてしまうのです。
He removed his voice alternators to see what would happen. It's true, people really do sound like ducks. Then again, maybe they sound more like aliens than ducks. The voices of the people around him jumped to a strange higher tone.
なんか喋ってみてくれよ。
なんかって
なんだよその声、すげえ笑える。
声がどうかしたの？
さっきの説明聞いてなかったのかよ。
何笑ってるの？ニヤニヤしてるの？怪しい人みたいだよ。
つうか自分の声自分で聞いてみ。おかしいぞ、まるで8本足の宇宙人だ。
宇宙人？ピロピロのケロケロ？クイクイ星人とか太陽星人とか？スター星人だとこの辺の先っちょからビームがピューッと。それよりさ、コメントの方が絶対面白いって。
Yeah, it's pretty funny. He placed the voice alternators back in his ears again and turned back to watch the staffer.
説明はこれで終わりです。あと1分ほどでこの部屋の脇にあるドアが開きます。
Great.
ドアの向こうはエレベーターになっていますので、それでは。
さて、それじゃ行くか。
Skip again, right?
ところで、
And for the elevator.
一人で来たの？
ああ、俺？いや、友達とはぐれちゃってさ。
迷子なんだ。
ちょっと違うけど、まあ似たようなもんかな。エレベーターを降りたら、そこら辺歩いて探してみるよ。
さっきの係の人に相談してみたら？
お、それもそうだな。ちょっとすいません。
Looking back, he saw that the employee had already disappeared. This choice, I'm gonna tell her.
タヌキが俺にボディーブローを。
Employee gave him a surprised look.
殴られたんだよ、いきなり。あのタヌキに。
He pointed at the big tanuki. The tanuki's expression didn't change, but it turned and started to run. The tanuki's silhouette pranced slightly away from into the distance. In an instant, it had disappeared down the walkway. The staffer looked after the tanuki as he spoke.
タヌキじゃなくてレミュール。
レミュール？
He rubbed his still aching stomach as he spoke.
そう、レミュール。スネザル。名前はミュニューン。
Rimu had been named after the continent of Lemuria, a legendary land. According to the British zoologist Slater, the Lemurian continent preceded the existence of islands scattered throughout the Indian Ocean. Lemurs were scattered throughout Africa, the island of Madagascar, Asia, and Indonesia. While investigating the distribution of these fox monkeys, Slater came to believe a continent had existed in the Indian Ocean, adopting the British geologist Brantford's hypothesis. He named this continent Lemuria. Moreover, the German zoologist Haeckel contended that this continent was the origin of mankind. Ooh. Neat.
どうしたんですか？お腹が悪いんですか？それとも。
いや、もういい。もういいんだ。もう済んだから。
ああ、そうですか。
The staffer disappeared. I see. That wasn't a tanuki, that was Myung-Yin. He wasn't sure why Myung-Yin had hauled off and punched him, but he knew that wondering about it wouldn't help, so he decided to forget about it. He needed to be getting somewhere.
もう少し自力で探してみるか。
He muttered this as he composed himself. He knew there should be several attractions at the other end of this corridor. His friends might have been looking for him as they waited in line.
で、どっちに行きゃいいんだ？
His legs were so tired that he could barely move. The world's worst theme park. And that was exactly how we felt. Okay. This choice here, I'm gonna save on, and I'll come back to later. I'll stay silent. She avoided his eyes. He felt like the air around him had suddenly gotten much heavier. Jolting suddenly, the elevator stopped. He looked at the ceiling. The lights flickered unsteadily.
Nanda?
Here's the next choice. Now this is a big choice here. I picked who am I, and that made me be the kid. This is actually the choice that will decide if you are going to be Takeshi or the kid. You can play as either one of them, and you will be able to go for a different girl with each of them. I'm actually going to do these ones later. So I'll save on this choice too. The first girl I want to go for is Sara. Here. On this choice here, I'm going to worry. Huh? What's wrong? I couldn't help but notice the dark work in her eyes. There was nothing left of the ninja attitude that she had departed with. Did something happen? Sara? Sara? Hey!
Nani?
You alright?
平気だよ、全然。どうしてそんなこと聞くの？
Well, I mean, you look so depressed.
そんなことないってば。ただ、
Just?
出口見つかんなかったから、ちょっとへこんでただけ。
Is that really all that's bothering you?
うん、それだけ。
Sarah's spirits seemed to lift a little. Seeing her smile made me feel a bit relieved.
ともかくここで立ち話をしていても始まりませんから、この制御室で現在のレミューの状況を調べてみましょう。
You all wait here. I did do this last time. I said I'd help you. Yeah.
そうかい。おい。
オッケ
I have done this, my
そう
guy.
まあいいや。だったら。
ー。
え？
だ。
This choice right here, I actually do not help you. If I want to go for Sara, I have to pick I'll wait here. Yeah. I'll wait here.
だってよ。
I wanted to help you, but if this is what I have to do, oh well.
蔵なりで我慢しますか。
だぐ可愛くねえな。もっと素直に喜ばんかい。
変な気を起こしたら張り倒すからね。
安心してくれ。間違ってもお前だけは絶対に襲わねえ。
When the two of them disappeared at the far end of the corridor, they were still
あの
going
二
at
人
it.
さ、
Yeah?
なんだかんだ言って結構いいコンビだと思わない？
Think so?
うん。ナッキ先輩って気に入った相手には遠慮しない性格だから、心を包み隠さないっていうか。たけしも似たようなタイプっぽいしね。
I wasn't sure why, but somehow I was a little jealous of you and Takeshi. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't open up to anyone like that. I had nothing to desire. Though, sure, yeah. A while after the two had disappeared, Sara and I hadn't spoken another word. The two of us just leaned against the wall and stared into the darkness. I was desperately trying to think of some way to break through the wall that had formed between us. Sara, how old are you? Finally, the words tumbled out of my mouth.
突然何？っていうか教えてなかったっけ？
I don't think so.
高校2年生16歳1月21日生まれ水亀座
Oh, Sarah rattled it off so smoothly she might have been singing a song she knew.
少年は
I didn't know. When I tried to remember, it was like my mind would fog over. I couldn't get close to it. It was like a mirage in the desert. I wonder how old I am.
そんなこともわからないんだ。
Nope.
なんだか寂しいね。
Yeah.
だけどそれでよかったのかもしれないよ。
What do you mean?
いっそ忘れてしまいたいような過去だったのかも。
Forget about... Yeah.
でね。
I can see that. Sarah's expression relaxed into a silly look. What? Don't scare me like that.
ごめんごめん。あ、そうだ。切り倒してみたらわかるかもよ。少年が何歳なのか。
Huh?
木の切り株みたいに年輪が刻まれてるかも。
For some reason, my eyes strayed to the palms of my hands. In the darkness, only dimly illuminated by the emergency lights, my fingers appeared to glow slightly white. I still didn't know what had happened to my finger.
指。
By doing this, Sarah grabbed my finger. Oh. It was so sudden, it put me at a loss for words. In the darkness, Sarah whispered words as if confirming something. She gripped my thumb.
背押し。月のせい。夢の中より待ち降りぬ。
What does that mean? Sarah just shook her head. There was no sign that she was going to answer me. She just murmured the words like a spell or a nursery rhyme as she held my thumb gently. A moon sprite. I wonder why Sarah had suddenly grabbed my thumb. Well, still, I didn't have any urge to pull it away from her. As I remained aware of my thumb, I searched for an answer from Sarah's slightly sweaty, warm palm.
お待たせ。
Yay.
多分これでもう大丈夫だと
That was a cute little scene.
お目当てのバルブを探すのに結構手間取っちゃったけど。
So if I want to see that scene right there, I have to wait there with her with the two bags. Sarah finally raised my thumb. In the darkness, I couldn't very well make out Sarah's explanation. The area around Sarah's mouth pulled slightly down, as if she were sad. Warmth lingered around my thumb. I don't know why, but I hesitated to wipe the warmth away and gently inserted my hand into my pocket, leaving my thumb extended. With this, we would be able to shut off the hot water flowing into the generator room. Alright. Takeshi and you tackled the main work. There was hardly anything for Sarah and myself to do, as we knew squat about machines. We functioned as assistants, shining flashlights, handing over tools, and loosening valves as instructed. After this and that, we succeeded in repairing the generator. It was just like Sarah had said. The cause of the blackout was the opening of the safety valve due to the drop in air pressure. When pressure from the steam becomes excessive, the valve automatically opens to release the gas and prevent damage. Normally, after a release of surplus gas, the valve is designed to shut naturally, but we're only at 1 atmosphere. Because the safety valve never closed, the steam continued leaking. Anyway, that was the gist of the explanation. We left the generator room and went to the pipe room. There we opened the valve we had closed before the repairs, and returned to the generator room.
さてそれじゃあ行ってみますか
Takeshi whispered the question as we stood in front of the generator
スイッ
switch.
チ入れるぞ
Sarah, you and I nodded silently.
心の準備はできたかな
Okay. What's this again? Now I am right here when we have to look for you, and I get a choice where it says I look for you or do repairs with Sarah. I was not able to get this before. I'm gonna repair with Sarah. Takeshi, I'll come along and help with the
ナット
repairs.
先輩はどうするの？
He's tougher than the rest of us, she'll be fine. Besides, if something was wrong, she would use Lemmy to contact
で
us.
もさっきの揺れで先輩の身に何かあったとしたら。それは大丈夫です。現時点ではレミューの内部に直接的な被害は発生していない模様です。田中さんの居場所についてももうしばらくすればセンサーが回復しますのですぐに判明すると思います。
よしひとまず U のことは後回しだ倉庫の状況を確認してそれから考えよう
うん。
She's fine, I promise. promise. How could I promise that? But somehow I was sure of it.
わかった。
With that one word, the tension seemed to leave Sarah.
何やっているの？置いていくわよ。
Next thing I noticed, we were the only people left in the room. Sarah and I chased after everyone. We quickly climbed the stairs. We were told that it wasn't urgent, but we still couldn't afford to be careless. Sugumi quietly shouldered the heavy toolbox, climbing higher and higher. Sarah and I followed her while Takeshi and Sora lagged behind. Hey, Sugumi. I called out to Sugumi up ahead.
何？
Sugumi responded without looking back. There's something that has been bugging me.
だから何？
Why are you eating a hot dog? I still couldn't figure it out. Sugumi's behavior was incomprehensible to me. Then I hit upon it. It was like she had been showing off. But what she said was...
食べたかったからよ。
That's it.
いけない？
I don't think it's wrong, but...
でも、たけしが怒ると思わなかったの？
She was just hungry. It's not that bad. Sarah chimed in with a question of her
彼の
own.
予定なんて私の知ったことじゃないわ。
I suppose you're right. We didn't know about them till right before either. After that, we fell into silence. It looks like Takeshi and Sora were having a low-key conversation behind us.
でも、
Sugumi started to speak suddenly.
ちょっといたずらしたかったのかも。
For a second, I didn't know what she was talking about. Then I realized she meant the whole hot dog thing.
思ったより手強いわね、あいつ。
Sugumi gave a rare laugh. But it was the kind of laugh that would grease the hair on the back of your neck. We finally arrived at Swait's stock. Looking around the fort, everything seemed normal, but we could hear a hissing sound coming from somewhere. We walked toward the sound.
それにしても昨日は何ともなかったのにな。急に異常が起きるなんてどうしてだと思う？
そうですね。何もかも予想通りとはいかないものですが、みんなが飛び跳ねたからじゃないの？
Ah,
ほら、みんなで騒がしくしてたから。だからレミューが傾いちゃったのかな。なんちゃって。
Sugumi's flippant remark tensed the atmosphere around
どう
us.
したの？置いていくわよ。
Sugumi walked briskly ahead. Hey, what's the matter with her?
私に聞かれたって。
ひょっとして頭でも打ったんじゃねえのか？
驚きましたね。
For a while, all we could do was stand around not knowing what to say. We had arrived in front of the room making the strange noise.
やっぱりこの音、倉庫の中から聞こえるな。
ちょっと倉庫内の状態をスキャンしてきますね。
Saying that, Sora disappeared.
開けたら蒸気が大爆発とかしないよな。
Sugumi fixed her eyes on the door.
そうね。平気なんじゃない？
わかるのか？もしかして。
適当に言ってみただけよ。
Sora appeared in front of the door.
確認しました。気圧正常、有毒ガスの発生なし。室内気温、湿度はともにわずかずつですが上昇中。パイプの一部が破損して少し水が漏れています。水深は深いところで10センチ程度です。はあ、そんなことだろうと思ったわ。はい？なんでもないわ。それなら大したことないわね。まあ、そうですね。
中に入ろう。修理すれば問題なくなるんだろう。
はい、お願いします。
We opened the door. We looked toward the wall that was making the hissing sound. There was a faint crack in the pressure regulating pipe, and water was dancing out in the faint
本
mist.
当に言った。
Fine mist.
多分
平気よ。この程度ならすぐに直せるわ。
Sugumi opened up the toolbox and started taking out tools.
どうすればいい？
パイプが少し歪んでしまっているわ。金具を締め直すからパイプを持って支えてくれる？
あ、了解。
私は？向こうのこのパイプがつながってるバルブがあるの。わかる？あれを少しだけ緩めてほしいの。良いでござる。
And what about me?
指示するから 私に必要な道具を渡してちょうだい。
Got it. We started to work. We opened and closed a number of valves, connected and repaired pipes, and welded shut
そ
cracks.
れにしても慣れてるな。
何が？
溶接だよ。どこかで覚えたのか？
知りたいの？
いや、それはお前。
どうでもいいことを聞くのは悪い癖よね。こう言えば満足？
は？なんだそりゃ。分かったよ。もう聞かねえよ。
Every once in a while, I felt that Tsugumi's words seemed out of place. I stole glances at Tsugumi's expression as I gave and took back tools. Of course, her face didn't really tell me anything. Sora watched us for a while from the side. After a while, an intercom in the corner of the room sounded.
あれ、なんだ？呼び出しか？
田中さんからです。どうやら警備室の方にいらっしゃるようです。はあ、先輩無事だったんだ。
That's a relief.
すいませんが皆さん、田中さんが私を呼んでいます。向こうに行かなくてはならないのですが。
ああ、行ってきてくれ。こっちはなんとかなりそうだ。
はい。では、あとはお願いしますね。
Sora approached the intercom and disappeared as if it had sucked her in. We knew she could travel instantly, but it was still not
少年、
safe.
こっちの方はもういいから、向こうのバルブの操作をお願い。
What? Sure, no problem. I moved over to the area by the pipes that she indicated.
まず、そこの青いバルブを。
What? Oh, what was that? For a second, I saw something.
そうしたら、次に赤いバルブをひねって。
The intercom continued to ring, and the hissing sound of the steam persisted. That feeling I just had, that was like before. I know, it was like when I was going to the conference room at the kiosk this morning.
少しそこで待ってて。うん、準備 OK。少年、今言った順番でバルブをお願い。ちょっと少年、聞いてるの？
Huh? Yeah, I got it. Sorry, the red and then the blue, right?
そうよ。緩めて、それから閉めるの。
I started on the blue valve in front of me. I needed to loosen it. And right then it happened again. Inside my head went all white. It felt like my consciousness was whisked off somewhere else. What was that? An image flashed at the back of my mind, and it felt that my brain was being hammered by light. It would stop and start, boxes falling and shattering to the floor, massive amounts of water cascading down. And then... Whoa, what? I remember losing all power to stand and crumpling right there on the spot. That was... It can't be.
おい、どうしたんだ？おい。
Takeshi shook my shoulders, bringing me back from wherever I'd been. Takeshi?
お、俺だ。大丈夫か
？Takeshi, trouble.
え？
If we stay here, there's going to be trouble. We have to escape now. I coughed the words out deliriously. Things are going to fall, and water will flood in, and someone will get really hurt.
何言ってんだ？わけわかんねえよ。
Right now, we have to escape. I felt like I was filling up with fear and panic.
落ち着けよ。落ち着けって。
どいて。
My left cheek burned like it had been scalded.
落ち着きなさい。
Pressing my hand on my hurting face, I stood up. The pounding of my heart finally got under control.
あなたはもういいわ。
Saying that, Tsugumi pointed to a corner of the
あ
room.
っちでおとなしくしていなさい。
What?
わからない？作業の邪魔だって言ってるの。
なあ、それはちょっと言い過ぎだろ。少年は疲れてるだけなんだよ。
あなたは黙ってて。いい？こういう時にこの子みたいなのがいると迷惑なの。きっと今につまらないミスを犯すに決まっているわ。あなただってこんな場所で事故なんて起こされたくないでしょ。
まあそうだけど。
ということだから どいてちょうだい。ここは別の人に任せるわ。
Alright. I walked meekly to the corner. After that, the work went smoothly, and finally succeeded in getting everything back to normal. What I had seen hadn't been real. Thankfully, my predictions had been off. With the repairs finished, everyone left the room and I was in the warehouse alone. I wondered what had been going on in my mind before. Well, everything had all turned out alright, it bothered me to no end. Yesterday in the generator room, and then this, I wondered what was wrong with me. I was still without my memory. I couldn't even find any of the pieces. But maybe... I thought that maybe these crazy flashes that kept occurring had something to do with my lost memory. Maybe I'm closer to getting my memory back. I floated around the warehouse thinking about it. Suddenly I noticed that deeper in the corner of the room there was another door. There appeared to be another room on the other side of the wall. The door was open, as if it were inviting me in. It was a tiny, tiny room. Inside the room was dimly lit, and it smelled damp and moldy. The lights were off, and closing the door made it even darker. I could just make out the interior of the room. The wall looked cold and sturdy. The room was covered with cables and pipes. I imagined that the room was used for storing equipment used in the warehouse. The far wall had a small, square window. My mind felt all foggy. Maybe I was just fatigued, like Takeshi said. A lot had happened over the last 3 days. I had heard a lot and thought about a lot of things. I don't know what it is, but I feel so sluggish. I sat down in a corner of the room and hugged my knees. Looking up, I saw moonlight streaming in through the window. It was warm, full light. I noticed that the walls of the room were made of concrete. As I sat with my back against the cold wall, I stared up at the full moon shining in from outside the window. The moon was far away. The broad night sky.
I'm gonna make wings instead.
Okay. I'll take this time to just look at the guide. Yeah, it just goes straight to there. Okay. Sweet. Okay, keep going. As I sat back with my back against the cold wall, I stared up at the full moon shining in from outside the window. The moon was far away. The broad night sky was contained in that little square space. The bluish shadows of the moonlight crawled slowly across the gray walls. I looked at the moon and its shadows and let out a sigh in the darkness. I didn't want to think about anything. I pretended not to notice the freezing coldness. The room had a very small bed. The sheets were pulled tight. There wasn't a single wrinkle or even a speck of dust. Next to the bed lay a chair with all the sharp edges rounded off. One of the chair's legs was bent off in an unnatural direction. The door was closed. It was a steel door with no knob. I felt eyes upon me from the corner of the ceiling, a sharp, intense pair of eyes boring into my body. I couldn't see the body belonging to the eyes, but a harsh laugh rang loudly in my ears. Next to a lens, a red light was on. The red light shone on the ceiling as if it was cutting off the room's corners into darkness. Suddenly, I heard the sobbing voice of someone behind me. Someone was crying on the other side of the wall. The small voice of a girl echoed in the darkness, and then I heard... What? It was the gruff voice of a man ringing out. I suspected that the girl had been hit. It sounded like she had fallen on the hard concrete and was crying even harder. When it says a line after that, it just skips right past it. Yep, it did it again. It did it again. I covered my ears with my hands and shook my head. Still, the girl's cries of pain didn't stop. As if trying to escape, I crawled across the floor to the opposite corner of the room and curled up. The moon's light was bright. I covered myself with a blanket as if to hide and close my eyes. The girl just cried and cried. I wondered what that sound could be. I didn't want to think about it anymore. Even if I closed my eyes, even if I plugged my ears, the image of the girl struggling on the floor jumped back into my mind. The voice gradually got weaker and faded. Finally, it disappeared completely. In the silence, only a muffled sob echoed hollowly. The air in the room was so dank and stale that it felt heavy and strange on the skin. This is scary. I heard a feeble voice. Sudden curses of the man drowned out the girl's voice. No, I didn't know. I didn't run away. No, I promised. No. No.
約束だよ。迎えに来るまでいい子にして待ってるから。いい子にして待ってるから。ずっと待ってるから。
No! I shouted and grabbed the chair lying on the floor with both hands. I took the chair to scare away ghost and pounded it on the wall. Finally, I put all my limited strength into it over and over. The chair bent awkwardly and scraped against the dented wall. Outside the window, the moonlight shined far away. Darn you! I took the chair and with all my strength threw it at the moon. The moon scattered like fireworks, shattering to pieces. I'll kill you! Saying this, I threw my body into the steel door. The door wouldn't budge, but I didn't give up. If I had to pulverize my body, I was still going to open that door. I hurled myself against the door again. The rage I felt made my blood boil and my body shake with fury. Something hot and sticky floating near my temple. Every time I crashed into the door, a shock of pain ran through my body. I thought that my shoulder might already be broken. The dull sound echoed in the darkness endlessly. Suddenly, the door opened. White light poured into my eyes. Tears swelled my eyes, overflowing. Through my blurred vision, I could make out Sara. Sara stood surrounded by the bright light, her hands outstretched to me. Finally, my consciousness was sucked into the light. Powerless, I slumped to the floor, lying there. My body felt heavy like lead and like it would sink to the floor. The next thing I knew, I was on a bed. The ceiling was so white it was slightly blinding. It smelled of disinfectant. Was this the infirmary? A shadow passed above me on the bed. It was you. Deja vu. No, this was something that I had actually experienced before. 2 days before, on the first date, when I woke up, you was at my side then. Where's Sara?
どこかで休んでると思うよ。今までずっとマヨが看病してくれてたんだよ。私は今さっき交代したところ。
I see. I took both hands out from the blanket and stared spacefully at my palms. The countless wrinkles etched there, intertwining, reaching out like the branches of a tree in complicated patterns. The pinkish skin and buried deeper in the slightly blue veins in 5 fingers. 5 on the left, 5 on the right, and 10 total, the same as always. My lost finger still hadn't come back to me yet. There was still the deep scar on my left thumb. Like always, I ran my pinky over the scar gently. Like always? I see, maybe this is a habit of mine. Strangely, that fact had penetrated naturally into my mind. But I wondered when, where, and how I had injured my thumb. Just maybe the scar held some kind of clue to help me remember my past. As I traced the wound with my pinky, it caused a slight stinging pain that tickled a little bit. I was finally feeling completely calmed down.
何があったの？
I do not know. You poured me a cup of freshly brewed coffee, handed it to me, and sat down next to my bed. I took the coffee. After a sip, I started to explain.
なるほど。じゃあ、あの小部屋の作りとかつて少年がいた場所の作りとは何らかの共通点があるってことね。
This is getting weird. Probably.
話を聞いた限りではそれってどこかの病室みたいだよね。
Sick room?
君、昔入院したことがあるんじゃないの？こんなことを言ったら失礼かもしれないけど、少年は前にも今と同じようなことを、つまり記憶喪失や突然暴れ出したりといった発作を何度か繰り返してきたんじゃないかな。だから小さな窓が一つしかついていないような病室に監禁されてしまった。
You touched on the harsh reality of the situation, yet chose your words with care.
もちろんそれが真実だと決まったわけじゃないよ。あくまでも可能性の話。ただ単に白チュームの中をさまよってただけ。そんな可能性もなきにしもあらずだから。
I was dreaming.
それも起きながらにしてね。
Finally, you gave me an easy-to-understand explanation about the connectedness of memories and dreams. According to you, dreams and memories are clearly deeply related, but not everything you see in a dream is something experienced in reality. In other words, something had set off my hallucination, but that alone didn't mean that I really had been held in a sick room. Dreams could often appear as symbols of something else. So what I had seen earlier might have been caused by my repressed memories. In any case, there was no way to be sure of anything, and I still hadn't gotten my memory back. I felt that my experience in a sick room or somewhere was as unreal as a strange small animal that might appear in a dream. Maybe it was just a dream. At some point, I had become sure of it. I felt sure that it was probably just my mind playing a nasty trick on me. You stood from beside the bed.
さてとりあえずもう一度言って確かめてみようか。
Go check what?
その小部屋へ事実関係を確かめに。
You held out her hands out to me.
もしかしたら何か記憶を取り戻すためのきっかけとなるようなものが見つかるかもしれないし。
I thought that was unlikely. I know that was just my mind playing tricks on me. I was convinced that there was no connection between that room and my memory. Even so, I had agreed to go. If she were willing to take me, I couldn't turn her down. I took Yu's hand and got up from the bed. It only made sense, but her hands felt a lot different from Sara's. The inside of the little room was in shambles. I was amazed that I could have made this much of a mess. That's how miserable it was. I didn't think that even if you compressed all of the world's poltergeists into this itty-bitty space, they could have done much more. All I could do was stand there with my jaw on the floor, as you said.
君がやったんだよ。
She was saying it as if to make sure.
で、なんだっけ。
What is even happening? Huh?
確かまずこの部屋に入って少年は床に座ったんだよね。
Yeah.
どの辺？
About here, I think. I pointed to the area around Yu's feet.
ドアは？
The door?
ドアは閉めたんですかって聞いてるの。
I shut it, I think. After the door shut, I wanted to escape and started throwing myself against the door. I closed the door as I answered. Just like before, the room was thrown into darkness. The only source of light was the moonlight pouring through the little window. What? Moonlight?
ちょっとこれじゃ何にも見えないじゃない。
You grasped around in the dark with her hands. I could see everything perfectly.
電気は？スイッチはどこ？
You walked along the wall looking for the switch, sometimes tripping on plastic boxes scattered on the floor. Yu's body gave off a faint light. Every time she took a step, a faint stake-like image followed her. It was like the flame of a candle flickering in a thick mist. Lights shone down from the ceiling. You muttered this as she stared at the light switch. You whipped around, and scouring the room, she said, there wasn't a single window in the whole room. Thinking about it, it made sense. Nobody would fork over the cash for a little window with special pressure-resistant glass in a little storage room stuck on the side of a warehouse. I looked around for moonlight that had been there until a second ago. There was no moon. I wondered if it was because I had shattered it, but that wasn't it. What I had mistaken for a window was just a little square hole. So no window in here. You followed my eyes and went and stood in the front of the square hole. I went over beside her and looked up at the hole. The hole was bordered by a steel frame. It was about the same size as a coin locker. It was about 20 inches on each side. There was a door on the hole. I might have broken it, but the door was bent completely and hung loose at a hinge on the side of the hole. The hole was more than an empty space. A bunch of colored wiring, something like an integrated circuit board, some kind of plug, and something like a small lever were all packed into the hole. What is this? I had no idea what it was. Inverter unit? I see. Everything she was saying was like gibberish to me, but I nodded. Huh? You said it straight-faced and without looking at me. I reached out to touch the inverter unit thing. It was a little bit warm. Or maybe I had it backwards. Maybe I knew that it was warm before I touched it, so I had wanted to make sure by touching it. In the end, we really didn't learn anything. No, but it did seem like something was trying to move, at least to me. It felt like someone inside me was tossing and turning in his sleep. Is that it? Okay. Let's get message read. Yeah. Even though I just embarrassed myself in front of everyone, they all acted as if nothing had happened. Dinner. And there's a line here. Of course, it was kind of like an indirect thank you for looking after me twice and worrying about my lost memory. Well, that was something. Oh, now I get this here. What? Seems just like that. It's you, a hot surge of hate raced through me. Who the heck do you think you are? You're good for nothing. I screamed and grabbed Sugumi by the collar. What? You grabbed me from behind and pulled me away from Sugumi. Let go! Let go! I said, let go of me! I continued to struggle violently. I was like a desperate beast devoid of all reason, with my fangs bared and a thirst for blood. What was left of my mind had ceased to be me. Okay. I walked around Limu. After what had happened, I didn't want to be around you or Takeshi, but I was too worked up to just stick around in one place. I thought I would pick the place they were less likely to come and wander around it. I wondered what that fit of rage had been about. Why had I gotten so mad? Why? Tsugumi had stared coldly down at Sara, and Sara had desperately battled to stand her ground. What were the emotions that had welled up within me in that instant? I felt like I was on the verge of figuring it out, like my lost memory had been concealed by a thick fog. But now it was only an inch away, right there, covered by a thin sheet. But no matter how thin it was, I still couldn't remove it. The more I thought about it, the further away in my fog my memory seemed to recede. I wondered what I could have had in my past. I continued to wander Lima without understanding anything. Nope. Suddenly I felt like I heard someone's voice in the room, so I entered it. In the strong night sky were a number of orb-shaped planets, and in between the planets there was a huge soft-looking whale floating. This was the cosmic whale room. Of course, the whale and the starry sky were all merely theme park attractions. I thought that wide open space and the attractions would help to ease my racking nerves. Even though it was fake, the expansive space erased my tense mind and nerves. Eased my tense mind and nerves, frazzled from being cooped up for so long, but I still had no memory. I realized again just how stressed this situation had made me without me noticing. My even noticing. For a while I just relaxed looking at the scenery. What? Something moved slightly on top of the whale. I squinted, peering at it. Sara? I glanced quickly at the planet next to the whale and headed for the stairs leading to it. I walked out to the edge of the whale's nose and sat down next to Sara. I thought that normally whales and dolphins have their blowholes or nostrils near the middle of their head, so it wasn't probably accurate to say its nose. We looked at the countless stars sparkling overhead. It seemed as if we could reach the stars in the sky. If I had stood up, I could have probably actually touched a star, because it was all a facade of fake stars projected onto the ceiling. Speaking of fake, the whale was too. I don't know what kind of cutting-edge technology they used, but the skin on the whale felt like it could have been real. Then again, I didn't suppose I had ever actually touched a real whale. Maybe I was just working from some image I had of what the whale skin would feel like. Not having a memory was mysterious in a way. Normal and abnormal, common sense and nonsense were all dictated by memory. For example, if a sea otter suddenly appeared right in front of me, and he said, "I'm your father," then, well, I probably wouldn't believe him, because in this life I had never met a cross between a sea otter and a person. But with no memory, there was no way for me to know for sure if I had ever met a sea otter person. Thinking of it that way, it was amazing to me that I could be so logical. I imagined that my memories were stored away in a drawer in my brain somewhere, and I was adding to the drawers even now. Only the number of drawers that I could open was limited. I had no idea where the drawers from before May 1st were packed away. Still, there was someone that was opening my drawers. And he or she was judging whether what was happening was normal or abnormal, common sense or nonsense. Rather, that entity was telling me. I was a safe without a key. The treasure in the safe didn't belong to me. Incidentally, it wasn't just the texture of the whale's skin that made it seem so lifelike. The whale was alive. At least it seemed that way to me. A whale swimming in the starry sky. The repetitive wave-like motion of his back as it swam through the sky, his soft mouth opened and closed and even popped up from time to time. About every 3 minutes, he blew out a warm breath through his blowhole. A seawater mist of spray would scatter around the area. Sitting at the tip of his nose, Sara and I bobbed up and down in time with his movements. Still, the whale undulated so slowly that we could let go with our hands and still feel safe. It was like a cradle rocking back and forth. On the back of the whale, we sailed through the cosmos. We were on our way to planet Kukui. Sara and I slowly took something out of her pocket and showed it to me. It was an old-style oil lighter. She lit it. The flickering flame made Sara's face look red. I wondered why she was carrying around a lighter. I couldn't picture her as the type that would smoke. I thought I might ask her. But as I did, Sara opened her other hand. In it was the pendant from before. A thin chain was wrapped around her index finger. The pendant swayed in her hand. Sara brought the flame closer to the pendant and stared at it. Spacefully, her expression relaxed. It was as if Sara were mesmerized by something. A mirror was embedded in the pendant. The flame of the lighter reflected brightly in the mirror. I wondered if Sara might be staring at her reflection and admiring herself. The idea made me laugh without thinking. I mean, what is even happening? It looks like you're sitting there grinning at yourself. I guess you've got a bit of a narcissistic side. With that, Sara snapped the lighter shut. That moment, I noticed something odd. It had looked like the flame of the lighter in the mirror had split into two images. I thought that maybe there was a crack in the mirror. Hey, can I see that pendant for a second? The whale's body continued to move up and down. I figured that was what Sara meant. I won't. Saying that, I took the pendant from Sara. I wrapped the chain around my finger and brought it close to my face. As I had suspected, the mirror was cracked. It wasn't just broken, a piece of it was missing. I touched the area that was missing. I thought it had probably been broken from the shock of Sugumi dropping it. The missing fragment might still be lying about in my room. Feeling the sharp contours of where the missing piece belonged made me sad. I took my fingers from the mirror and held my palm out towards Sara. Without saying anything, Sara plunked the lighter down on the palm of my hand. It sparkled and it sparked and lit. I'd spoken without thinking. The flame appeared in the mirror dimly, but in 3 dimensions. So this is a hologram pendant? Oh, the mirror showed a person. It was basically a headshot. From the shoulders on up, the head and facial expression were extremely clear. I imagined it was made using a holo machine. Holo machines were machines that would burn a hologram into pendants or keychains or any other object that a person wanted. On Weimu, there were even a number of these machines. I remembered that much. It was the same as before. If there were something to trigger my memory, I could recall some things. I thought that if I could remember these kinds of things, why not? But I shoved that thought aside and focused again on the image of the pendant. Since it was a hologram, it also had depth. Changing the angle of the mirror changed the angle of his face. It was an image of a man I didn't know. I suspected it was an image that was closed away in any of those inaccessible drawers of my memory. I had no memory of the face. Who is this? Huh? Is it your boyfriend? Sara remained quiet. Her expression was frozen solid. It's your boyfriend, isn't it? I asked her again. But there was not even a glimmer of hidden romance on her face. Any girl looking at her boyfriend's picture would probably show a smile, especially stuck in the middle of the ocean. Hey, he looks pretty cool. I said it in a teasing way. Actually, he was so good looking it was enough to make you sick. I thought she might chirp out, "Oh honey, I hope you're well, I miss you." But there was one thing that bothered me. His image was all in one color. But there was kind of a retro trend going on, and some people did go for the sepia or monochrome holograms, so it didn't really seem all that outlandish. What? So how long have you been dating? I put out the lighter, set it on the pendant, and held it out to Sara. She didn't take them. She was still frozen stiff. It looked like she was forgetting to breathe. Hey, Sara. Hello, Sara. I grasped the pendant that she hadn't taken and shook Sara's shoulders. Sara didn't even blink. And then... the whale exhaled. Sara leaped up and smashed into me, leveling me with a powerful tackle. Who knows, it might have been that she was so surprised. She just wanted something to grab onto. Still, her full weight came barreling into me. With that, I went down and she crumpled with me. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to gain distance. We slid down and off the whale's smooth skin. The stars appeared to What what they say about space being weightless? Well, that seemed a lie. Before I had time to think anything else, my body made contact with the hard floor. A fine mist descended down to my skyward face. Sarah was on top of me, unmoving. I could hear her breathing near my ear.
着陸成功だね。
Sarah continued talking as she lifted up her face and peered into
よ
my
うこ
face.
そクイクイ星へ。
Up her face and peered into my face. Oh, that was weird. I ended up failing to give the pendant back. I thought I would look for the missing piece of the hologram and had an idea of where it might be. It was the site of Segumi and Sarah's fight the day before. The fragment should be around that room somewhere. I wanted to find the piece and put it back in the pendant. I thought if I could do it, Sarah would jump with joy. As I imagined her happy face, I crawled around on my knees, searching from her corner to corner. That's strange.
何がおかしいんだ?
What's strange? Okay. Surprised, I looked up and there was Takeshi. Nope, can't skip
中
yet.
探してるのか?
Oh. Yeah. Actually. I explained the situation and showed Takeshi the broken
なる
pendant.
ほどね。確かに割れてるな。
Yep. If you don't mind, could you help me look?
ああ、探してやることにやぶさかではないんだが、その前に一つだけ聞いてもいいかな。
What?
お前の言ってたその男の画像ってのは、一体どこに映ってるんだ?
Where? It's right here. I peered into the mirror. What? He's gone. Takeshi looked at me skeptically. But it was here yesterday, I swear. I wonder why.
まあいいさ。サラの彼氏がどんな男だろうと、俺には興味なんかないし。いや、訂正。少しは興味があったりなんかしたりもするのだけれどもだ。いずれにせよ、ペンダントが欠けてしまったことに変わりはないわけだし。そしてそのペンダントがサラの大事にしているものであることも事実であるし。よって俺はお前に協力してかけらを探してやることにする。
Thanks.
負けるなよ、少年。
Huh? Takeshi thumped my back and set about crawling on the floor searching.
謝礼はいくらぐらいもらえるのかな?
Reward?
俺がかけらを見つけた場合の謝礼だよ。
What? Are you going to blackmail Sarah?
なんでだよ。払うのはサラじゃなくてお前だろうが。
Why?
このくなしらばっくれてもダメだぞい。
What?
全部お前の手柄にするつもりなんだろ。
Takeshi wriggled toward me like a snake. He stopped
俺
in
が
front
見つけ
of
て
me.
も自分が見つけたことにするんだべ。
I wouldn't.
やいサラ。なんでございますの少年さん。これを受け取れ、こんちき証明。まあ、これは私が昨日お貸ししたペンダントでございますが。あら、欠けてたところが治ってるでございますわ。おう、当たり前よ。てめえのために一生懸命探してやったんだ。少年さん、お一人でお探しになってくださったのでございますの？しゃあなくせ、何言いやがる。俺一人で探したに決まってな。まあ素敵。少年さん、ありがとうでございますわ。とまあ、こういう展開に持っていこうとしているわけだ。
No. I'm totally not gonna do that. Whatever. Anyway, that wasn't a very good impersonation of me or Sarah.
いちいち細かいこと気にすんなって。俺はお前のことを応援してやってんだぞ。
Nah, I'm kinda gonna do that. I told you it isn't like that.
いいっていいって。俺何気にそういうの好きだからさ。
What do you mean by this?
なんつうのかな。いわば愛のキューピッド役。
Cupid doesn't ask for money.
確かに。じゃあ
He just gives people help.
発電機の調子が悪いみたいなんだ。まあ大したことはないんだけど、一応メンテナンスしとかなくちゃいけないから。で、空に命令されたから。
In that case, I'd do it even if I didn't owe you anything.
お、サンキューな。
In the end, we didn't find the missing piece. Takeshi and I were just standing around covered in dust. The door opened and Sara came in.
あ、いたいた。ペンダント。確か少年に預けっぱなしだったよね。
Oh, yeah. All I could do was hand her back the fractured pendant. Only then, like Sara was seeing us for the first time, did she notice that we were filthy.
ところで、こんなとこで何やってんの？
I couldn't think of anything to say. Takeshi and I exchanged glances.
かけらを探してたんだ。
かけら？何それ？
そのペンダントの欠けた部分だよ。直してやろうと思ってさ。
そんなこと別にいいのに。
Sara looked kind of embarrassed. What? What had happened? All of a sudden, Takeshi had made it look like it was still in his bright idea. It was all his bright idea. I thought he was going to let me take the credit.
それにこんなとこじゃかけらは絶対見つからないと思うよ。
Why not?
だってこのペンダント最初からかけてたんだもん。
最初から？
うん。物心ついた時からなぜかこのペンダントを持ってて、この部分が割れたのはもうずっと昔のことなの。
Oh, well, that means...
見つからないわけだ。は
あ。Takeshi's sigh echoed throughout the infirmary. After lunch, Takeshi gave me more information about the generator problem. He said that the part we had repaired before was malfunctioning and that the machine wasn't functioning in a stable manner. Takeshi told me when to meet him to fix it. Then he said he had something to do and took off. I didn't have anything to do until our meeting time, so I walked the corridors alone. Suddenly, I noticed a faint voice. It sounded like a song. Skip? No. I wondered who it could be. I turned toward the direction of the voice. There was no one there. And the voice had stopped. But I was sure that the voice had come from around here. I thought that maybe... Ah. Oh. So it's her here. Okay, that's a good introduction to Sara's route. I think I'll end it there for now. Great. Bye.